Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's general elections to take place in 7 phases starting from April 19th. 970 million voters to participate in the world's biggest festival of democracy.
We'll do it in 7 phases. Phase 1 will start from 20th March notification, and date of poll would be 19th of April. Date of counting in the entire country would be 4th of June.
Israel plans to send delegation to Qatar for ceasefire negotiations, also approves plan for a military offensive in Rafah. Indian shuttler Lakshya faces Jonathan Christie of Indonesia in All England Open semi-finals, seeks a place in the summit clash of the badminton's marquee tournament. The general elections 2024 in India will be held in 7 phases. The date of the polls is 19th of April. Polling for phase 2 will be held on 26th of April.
We'll do it in 7 phases, as was done last time. 7 phases. Phase 1 will start from 20th March notification, 5 days from now. And last date of withdrawal would be 30th March and date of poll would be 19th of April. Second phase, notification will start on 28th of March and date of poll will be 26th of April. Phase 3 would be from 12th of April and date of poll will be 7th of May. Fourth phase में 18th April को गजट नोटिफिकेशन होगा और डेट ऑफ पोलिंग वुड बी 13th of May. फिफ्थ फेज 26 अप्रैल से शुरू होगी और 20 मई तक चलेगी. 20 मई तक डेट ऑफ पोल होगी. फेज सिक्स्थ में 57 constituencies will go to the poll starting from the gazette notification on 29th of April and finishing on 25th of May 2024. Last phase, 7th phase, notification will be on 7th of May and polling on 1st of June. Date of counting in the entire country would be 4th of June for all by-elections, for the assembly elections, for the parliamentary elections.
The Election Commission of India elucidated the rationale behind holding the election across 7 phases, emphasizing its aim to facilitate seamless deployment of security forces and electoral infrastructure, while also taking into account various holidays and festive occasions.
सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस का मूवमेंट कभी सोच के देखिए. दे विल बी मूविंग लाइक विद इन 3 to 4 days बिटवीन द गैप इन द फेजेस. दे विल मूव, दे विल वॉक लेंथ एंड ब्रेड्थ ऑफ द कंट्री. उनके ऊपर प्रेशर कभी देखिए कितना होता होगा. कभी इलेक्शन मशीनरी की पूरी प्रोसेस, कभी एग्जाम्स, कभी फेस्टिवल्स, होली, रमजान, रामनवमी, पता नहीं क्या क्या फेस्टिवल्स बीच में. जब कैलेंडर पे हम लेके बैठते हैं तो एक डेट फिक्स करते हैं, दूसरे में चली जाती है, दूसरी फिक्स करते हैं, कहीं प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है. हम किसी को फेवर करने के लिए, किसी को नुकसान करने के लिए कोई भी एक्शन नहीं लेते.
And DD India correspondent Anil Thomas joins us from New Delhi with more updates. Anil, with 970 million voters, the world's largest democratic exercise begins.
Good evening, Shubhendu. Well, exactly. That's but this time around, a bit of a different is that this time around the entire summer season is going to be polling season. So it's going to be, the political parties and political leaders sweating it out in the hot sun, because this time around the voting is going to take place till the 1st of June, which means there are 2 phases in the month of April, 4 in the month of May and 1 in the month of June, with the big judgment day or counting day on the 4th of June. So it's going to be very long summer, especially for the political parties and the political leaders in the fray, who are going to, travel the length and breadth of the country, trying to make every vote count in their pursuit to win this particular electoral battle.
All eyes also on the Election Commission, Anil, to conduct these mega elections. How do you read the measures in place to ensure that these 970 million people eligible to vote also come out and exercise their franchise?
Well, it's been a great effort there by the Election Commission, looking at the mammoth task that they have right in front of them. If you look at the topography of India, it's very difficult. You know, on one end you have purely in terms of area the largest seat, if one would look at, that comes in Ladakh, to the smallest seat that comes in Delhi's Chandni Chowk. So it's a huge Herculean task to put things together for an election like this. Getting it conducted once again in 7 phases. This time around there's been a bit of delay purely in the way the Election Commission announces the dates. If you look at the last 2 elections when dates were announced, it was very much early. This time almost 6 days delay when it comes to the dates being announced. And for the first time the elections voting as well as counting being shifted or being pushed into the month of June clearly indicates that, you know, there is a huge task on hand for the Election Commission, and they have tried everything possible to make it a free and fair elections. There were many question marks being raised about the EVM machines, it coming into the court many a times. The Election Commissioner was very clear, every step being taken for it to be free and fair. Lot of efforts, lot of lessons that they have learned over the last 11 to 12 state elections that have taken place in the country, and every valuable lesson that they have picked being put to use here in this biggest election of all, that's the 2024 elections in India. And the Election Commission leaving no stone unturned in making it a fruitful election, to make every vote that people vote for, you know, to count for the people and for the parties in the fray.
Anil, you mentioned EVMs, which is quite at the heart of the electoral process in the country. And in the press conference that we all saw, Election Commission also presented a book which sort of documents all the legal tests that EVMs had to go through, and it had gone through successfully, and adding to the confidence of the voters and the political parties in the machine.
Well, that's true. You know, if one takes a look at the EVM machines, you know, undergoing the test of time over the years, almost 40 cases that have been filed that the Election Commission himself spoke about during the briefing that he had with the media, and questions time and again, even from the press, circulated around the EVM machines and the doubts that were raised around it. The Election Commission was once again very clear that now the even courts are fed up of listening to cases that have been, courts or petitions that have been lined up with regards to the EVM machines, and there have been fines imposed by, you know, various courts across many parts of India when it comes to these kind of cases that have been cropped up, or these kind of petitions that have been cropped up with regards to the with regards to the EVM machine. The Election Commissioner was very clear, it's foolproof, it's safe, and people should trust that the Election Commission is leaving no stone unturned in making it a memorable election for everyone who's casting his vote for the first time, or for that matter, that, you know, many people who have almost crossed 100 years but still look forward to voting in this particular, you know, dance for democracy that India witnesses. Because he said Indian elections are a poll star in this particular election year, where we see almost the entire world, 8 countries, at least 8 countries, 8 important countries, they're going to the polls in this particular election year. And not only that, many countries across the globe, you know, taking part in this this democratic process. And the Election Commissioner once again was very clear when he talked about the EVM machines and the question marks that have been raised about it. He said it's time for political parties on either side of the fence to believe that the Election Commission and the EVM machines are totally foolproof, and it can, you know, stand the test of time.
And the greater attention, at least for today, Anil, would be the magnitude of the electoral process. We discussed 970 million eligible voters. There are going to be some 1 million polling stations across the country as well. Even in comparison to the earlier elections in India, say 2019, how does the 2024 offer the magnitude and the complexities involved, the most challenging elections ahead?
Well, exactly. You know, you put it rightly. Purely in terms of challenge, it's one Herculean task. In terms of numbers, 98.6 crore voters, you know, that are going to go in different phases to cast their polls. 49.7 49.7 crore male voters and 47.1 crore female voters. That's not all purely in terms of numbers that the Election Commission was speaking about. 55 lakh EVMs that could be used, 1.5 crore polling officers that will be used, and 10.5 lakh polling stations that are going to be used. So purely in terms of numbers, it's a big task getting this organized, letting, during from one phase to another phase, letting all these move from one state to another. That's not all. There are 4 states that are going for assembly elections simultaneously along with the Lok Sabha elections. 3 in the east, one is Odisha, Andhra Pradesh along with Sikkim, and 1 down south, Andhra Pradesh, that goes to the polls. So it's a huge task, shifting things from one state to another, managing processes, also keeping those 4 M's that the Election Commissioner spoke about: muscle, money, misinformation, and the MCC. That's the moral code of conduct that time and again being tried to be violated, and it's a huge task, keeping these 4 things under check: muscle, money, along with misinformation and the MCC violations. So all in all, it's a huge task to conduct these elections, and I think you got to give full marks to the way lessons that have been learned. And I think the Election Commission was very right in saying that gold standards have been set when it comes to conducting elections by the Election Commission, and we can look forward to another round of general elections which could be fair and which could be even for all the parties in the fray.
Right. And Anil, finally, with the dates announced, all eyes on the campaigning season that will begin. Of course, the model code of conduct that you mentioned, if you could just in brief explain to our viewers what entails from here.
Well, from here on, once the dates are announced, the model code of conduct comes into play. No political party, no political announcements can be made. And purely from here on, every political party, just as the dates were announced, every political party almost took to social media to indicate that they are ready, geared up for the elections. And I think it's the hot summer that these political parties and political leaders are going to face. So you're going to see a lot of twists and turns, especially down south, where it becomes very difficult during this particular season to campaign. You'll see campaigns being shifted more to the morning and later to the later part of the evening. Different kinds of campaigns that would come into play, looking at the hot summer that these political leaders would have to face. That's not all purely in terms of the Election Commission, the steps that have been taken. The Election Commission has been very right to say that they are looking to reduce repolls, keep things very much under control. There has to be zero violence that they are trying, especially to keep things under check, especially in the 3 states which will see polls across the 7 phases of elections. That's Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, along with West Bengal. So the Election Commission doing everything possible. That's not all. Even in people displaced, especially in Manipur, in those relief camps, would have an option of wherever they are in those relief camps, they can vote from there. So remote voting will be allowed for people in Manipur as well as people in Jammu and Kashmir. That's not all. For the first time, though, it's clearly been indicated that journalists too who would be covering the elections would be given the benefit to either do remote voting or postal ballot opportunities will be given to them. But we'll have to wait and watch. There is still not an official word about it. The Election Commissioner, the Chief Election Commissioner did indicate that's very much possible, and he would see to it that even journalists today in this elections would get an opportunity to cast their vote.
Anil, appreciate you joining us with those updates.
Good evening. Thank you.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that his party is fully prepared for the elections as the dates were announced by the Election Commission of India today. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live, India abstains on draft resolution on Islamophobia at UNGA. Indian Navy thwarts Somali pirates' hijack attempt. And Hong Kong court sentences 12 people to jail for pro-democracy protest in 2019.
We are taking a close look at the phenomenon of military bases, military infrastructure, and military facilities in the maritime domain and what they do to enhance a country's naval power.
We are the ones who are, assuring them that we will help each and every smaller country, whether it is you want infrastructure from us, we will go and provide it. You want ships, you want boats, or you want any kind of help, a bigger nation is there to help you out.
In DD India Live, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. India abstained at the UN General Assembly on a draft resolution on Islamophobia. India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, said it is crucial to recognize the prevalence of religiophobia against other religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and other faiths.
It is crucial to recognize, Mr. President, that Hinduism, with over 1.2 billion followers, Buddhism, with more than 535 million, and Sikhism, with over 30 million followers worldwide, are all subject to religiophobia. It is time that we acknowledge the prevalence of religiophobia rather than just single out one.
The Indian envoy Kamboj further said India stands against all forms of religiophobia, be it anti-Semitism, Christianophobia or Islamophobia, or sentiments against Hindus, Buddhists and Sikhs.
India stands against all forms of religiophobia, be it anti-Semitism, Christianophobia, Islamophobia, as we stand against all anti-Hindu, anti-Buddhist and anti-Sikh sentiments.
India also opposed the creation of post of special envoy on the basis of a single religion, calling for a more inclusive approach that addresses religious discrimination in its entirety.
We are in principle opposed to the creation of the post of a special envoy on the basis of a special religion. We trust that the resolution adopted today does not establish a precedent that could result in numerous resolutions centered on phobias tied to specific religions, potentially dividing the United Nations into religious camps. It is crucial for the United Nations to maintain its stance above such religious concerns which have the potential to fragment us rather than unite us under the banner of peace and harmony, embracing the world as one global family.
Moving on, the Indian Navy remains committed to maritime security and safety of seafarers in the region. It successfully thwarted designs of Somali pirates to hijack ships plying through the region by intercepting ex-merchant vessel Rowan on Friday. The vessel that was hijacked by Somali pirates on Thursday was intercepted by the Navy warship the next day. During the interception, the Rowan reportedly opened fire on the Indian Navy warship, prompting a response from the naval officials as per the international law in self-defense and to counter piracy. The pirates on board the vessel were then called upon to surrender and release the vessel and any civilians they may be holding against their will. Earlier, Indian Navy also responded to another hijacking bid off Somali coast. Navy deployed a warship responding to a piracy attack on merchant vessel Abdullah, a Bangladeshi flagged vessel en route from Mozambique to the United Arab Emirates. As soon as the Indian Navy was informed about the piracy attempt, a long-range patrol aircraft was deployed to locate the ship. The mission-deployed warship on maritime security operations, which had also been diverted, intercepted the hijacked merchant vessel on Thursday morning. The safety of the vessel's crew, held hostage by the armed pirates, was ascertained, and the warship continued to maintain in close vicinity of the vessel till its arrival in the territorial waters of Somalia. So now let's understand more about the Somali pirates and their actions in the region. The history of their emergence backs to 1990s. The federal government of Somalia under the then President Siad Barre was embroiled in a civil war. Large-scale internal conflicts and major instability grappled the country. Though the country got federal government after decades in the year 2012, the instability in Somalia continued. It became a fragile nation as extremist groups began to threaten the government. With the fall of Barre's government, the Somali Navy was also disbanded, and waters of Somalia were left unguarded. The illegal foreign fishing in the Somali seaboard hampered the business of the local fishermen. Somalis, who depended on the sea for their livelihood, viewed this encroachment helplessly. Small groups began to rob the more vulnerable foreign national vessels that stole their fish. Eventually, Somalis recognized that piracy for ransom was a way to make a living. The crisis in the country has continued till date, according to European Commission Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operation. There are close to 4 million internally displaced people in Somalia due to drought, floods, conflict and insecurity. As a result, hijackers are once again targeting vessels off Somalia coast to make their way for living. Another source of tension in the Gulf of Aden and Red Sea remains Yemen's Houthis, who have repeatedly launched drones and missiles against international commercial shipping since mid-November. A Marshall Islands-flagged liquefied petroleum gas tanker reported 2 explosions near the ship on Friday as it travelled off the coast of Yemen's port city of Hodeidah. The US Central Command has confirmed the attack, the third one in the past 48 hours. However, no injuries or damage were reported. Earlier, UK Maritime Trade Operations said another ship reported 2 rockets flying over it. Meanwhile, the US military on Friday destroyed 9 anti-ship missiles and 2 drones in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. Update related to Israel-Hamas conflict now. Israel has announced plans to send a delegation to Qatar following Hamas's concessions in the ceasefire negotiations, signaling the closest approach to a deal in recent weeks. Under intensified diplomatic pressure, including threats from Qatar and Egypt, Hamas has softened its stance, stepping back from its demand for a permanent ceasefire agreement prior to negotiations. Meanwhile, despite the diplomatic progress, Israel has approved its plan for a military offensive in Rafah. Global allies have urged Netanyahu to hold off attacking Rafah, fearing mass civilian casualties. But Israel says it is one of the last strongholds of Hamas, whom it has pledged to eliminate, and that residents will be evacuated. The first ship towing a barge of humanitarian aid to Gaza has unloaded supplies into shore. The ship transporting humanitarian aid from World Central Kitchen Organization, led by UAE, arrived in Gaza's maritime space on Friday. The ship contained 130 pallets of humanitarian equipment and 115 tons of food, water that were transferred to around 12 trucks, which will distribute them to northern Gaza. The ship is in a test run for new aid route by sea from Cyprus to Gaza. If this sea mission is deemed a success, other aid ships will likely follow as part of an international effort to get more aid into Gaza. The ships would use a newly opened sea route to travel directly into the region. Moving on, a Hong Kong court has sentenced 12 people to jail terms of up to 7 years over the storming of city's legislature during 2019 pro-democracy protest. Hong Kong actor Gregory Wong, political activists Wen Thiu Lau and Owen Chow, who had pleaded guilty, were also given jail terms. In 2019, a group of protesters broke into Hong Kong's legislative building to demonstrate against an extradition bill that would have allowed authorities to send people to mainland China for trial. The incident was a pivotal movement in the boldest populist uprising against Chinese Communist Party rule since the 1989 Tiananmen Square protest in Beijing. In sports, Indian shuttler Lakshya will seek a place in the summit clash of the All England Open Badminton Championship 2024 when he faces Indonesia's Jonathan Christie in the semi-finals later today. A superb comeback win against Lee Zhijia in quarterfinals of the All England Badminton Championship saw Sen reach back-to-back semi-finals on the BWF Tour. A runner-up at Arena Birmingham 2 years ago, Sen had been going through a rough patch in the last few months to suffer 7 first-round exits on the BWF World Tour. The 8th, he was ousted in second round, but last week, the reigning Commonwealth Games champion staged a stunning comeback to reach the semi-finals of French Open in Paris. Now he has booked his place in the another semi-finals with a remarkable turnaround. An exhibition match was played between Indian Deaf Cricket Association and Delhi and District Cricket Association on Saturday in the national capital. The match was organised by Election Commission of India to create voter awareness. DD India's Abhishek Mahajan spoke with the former Indian cricketer Nikhil Chopra, who was present at Karnail Singh Stadium to witness the match.
Former India cricketer Nikhil Chopra is with us. Welcome, sir. Welcome to DD India. First of all, match is going on between IDCA and DDCA. Great awareness, great initiative, in fact, by the ECI for the voter awareness.
Incredible. I think more and more such awareness is important, and the cause that they've got, especially able, but nevertheless, that's God's will, but you can still get yourself registered and your vote counts. And that's the mantra. I mean, more and more people go out there and vote and exercise the one right.
Word on Indian cricket team. I mean, they played exceptional cricket against England. Happy with the way they performed against England?
Oh, I would have liked it to be 5-0, but that's sport. And, Indian team's always been somebody who likes to bounce back big time. And the beauty about it is, when you're playing at home, everybody says that sometimes test matches go your way. It's a little easier because the surfaces couldn't aid you. But at the end of the day, you still need to go out there and get runs, and you still need to go out there and pick up wickets. And same goes for the opposition side as well. It just goes to show how well you're prepared.
And youngsters stepping up, 5 debutants, be it Sarfaraz Khan, Devdutt Patikal, Akashdeep, all doing brilliantly.
5 debutants coming to that stage and grabbing those opportunities, it just goes to show how well your domestic structure is in place. Ranji Trophy, the 4 days, rest of India, the board presidents, the zonal 3-day, 4-day tournaments, everything in place. It's just getting you ready for the big stage. When you get so many runs, under your belt, at the end of the day, you go out there and you treat it like another game.
And a word of advice for Ishan Kishan or Shreyas Iyer?
I guess, if you keep playing domestic cricket, it's only going to help your game. Bottom line is, from the great Sunil Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar, Kapil Dev, all the greats, whether it was Harbhajan Singh, Yuvraj Singh, Ajit Agarkar, everybody, just goes to show you give importance to domestic cricket, it is only polishing your skill set.
That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.